Eloïse, welcome to Sala Cecilia Meirelles. We are very, very happy to have you here. And I'd like to ask you if it's the first time you come to Brazil.
Yes, it's actually my very first trip even to Latin America. Today I live between Paris and Vienna, and I mostly travel and perform in Europe, especially in Germany and in Austria. There's countries where the classical music classical music market is very dense. There are many concerts, many festivals, and I'm really very excited to discover this vast country and its culture for the very first time.
Great. We are looking forward to having you here. And tell us about a bit more about your career in Europe. What you used to do. Do you play only as a soloist? Do you take part in any ensembles?
Exactly. I perform as a soloist. Actually, I was born in Paris in a music lover family, and music was always very present at home. My parents, they met in a choir. My older sister, she played violin. Now she's a doctor, and we used to play a lot when we were children as a duo. So chamber music was something always very close to my heart. And I also studied as a child and as a teenager composition. And then until I passed the entrance exam to the Paris Conservatory at 15, I also continuing studying composition. And when I was 21, I finished my piano studies in Paris, and then I went to Germany, and I went to Austria to study with a Russian teacher, Lilia Silberstein. And since I'm about 20, I got gradually more opportunities to perform as a soloist and as a chamber musician, and sometimes also as singer accompanist. So I'm happy to do every sort of possible thing. That's what fascinates me also with piano, that you can do so many different configuration. And yes, today I'm really happy to be lucky enough to live entirely for my concerts, mainly in Europe, in particularly Germany and Austria. Exactly.
So you are interested in composition. Do you still compose?
No, I actually stopped composing when I was like 18, 19. But it's something always very important to me. I think you are more in a capacity to understand the music when you yourself you are able to compose music.
And when and why did you choose to be a professional pianist?
It actually it became gradually obvious. Also, I was also interested in conducting and composing, but I would say one of my teachers in Paris Conservatory, whose name is Eric Lesage, he convinced me that I should be careful and try more to concentrate on the piano, because he thought it was worth it instead of dispersing myself in too many directions. But what I said just before is that paradoxically, sometimes I feel that what I learned during my composition course is maybe more important than what I learned during my piano lessons. And for me to be able to understand deeply the music and the genius of the composers is more valuable than being a virtuoso or having fantastic technical skills, which is of course very important as well, but maybe not the most important.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that composition makes you a better performer.
Yes.
So you can understand better the composer's ideas and how do they conceive the work.
Yes. And when you put yourself at the place of the composer, you understand more why is this passage very surprising. It's not something that you could expect on, etc.
Yeah, it's interesting because you are very young, and I really figure out how to be a young musician, specifically how to be a young professional pianist nowadays. That you have so many things that it call you out of yourself. While we know that professional musicians need to spend a lot of time practicing and studying and everything. How do you deal with these sort of, I would say, difficulty. Maybe not for you, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, I really feel lucky to be able to spend my days only in contact with eternal masterpieces. And I'm extremely thankful to discover new cities, new places, and new people at every concert. But it can be challenging. You have to focus on the music and really trying some time for many days not to go on social medias, to be really concentrating. And what I also like in this job is that the feeling that you can always improve yourself. Each time you think you come closer to perfection, but it's always possible to find a better emotion, a better expression. It's endless, and it's like the horizon, because each time you come closer to the horizon, it seems to move away. And I really like this part of the job. In my opinion, I think the classical music is now very important, and it will always be present in the society. But we as artists, we really have important responsibility, and we need to find a way to make everyone understand that classical music is not something which is elitist, and it can be appreciated by everyone, and even someone who doesn't have a very developed cultural background. I think like classical music is really able to move anyone.
You like to play first performances, like to present to the world firsthand a new piece?
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting process, and I think composers are maybe the more interesting people you can work with, because they are the real artists who create. We interprets are only there to recreate and to transmit their genius to the audience, but we are actually not so interesting as they are actually, I think.
How do you work with the composer? What do you like to ask the composer about the piece you were about to premiere?
It just like to understand what was his process, what was his first idea, and how did he come, what came first in the order of his composing. And I think it's really fascinating. And if we can observe this on a contemporary composer, we are more closer to understand it for a classical, romantic, or baroque composer as well.
But you have chosen a program not with contemporary pieces, but with wonderful works by Bach and Debussy. Could you tell us a little bit about your choice of program here at Sala Cecilia Meirelles?
Yes, Bach and Debussy are two composers which were always close to my heart. I actually did my first two albums with these composers. My first album was recording the complete prelude by Debussy on 2 CDs. And my second album was during the Corona time. I recorded Bach, Art of the Fugue, with a new completion because it's incomplete. And there are very different musical words. The first one is from Baroque, the second one is from Impressionism. And it's a very different way of playing also, because we know that Bach actually wrote on his keyboard music for harpsichord. So I generally don't use any pedal when I'm performing Bach, because I want to come as close as possible to the sound of harpsichord that Bach had in mind. And of course, when you perform Debussy, it's a very inverse process, because the resonance produced by the pedal is very important to the sound in Debussy language. So it's a very it's a kind of time travel to perform this program. You go from the origin of tonality until what happened when tonality was not there anymore, and when composers started to compose in a more modern way.
Yeah, but it's very interesting also because you can make a parallel between Bach's French Suite and Debussy's Preludes. Bach's French Suite gathers different dances, and Debussy's Preludes suggest different images, different pictures. Do you limit yourself to the notes on the score, or are you somehow influenced by the title of each movement?
That's a very good question, because in the case of Debussy, which is very modern for that time when he composed it, is that he wrote the title of each piece not before the piece, but after the piece and in brackets. So as he didn't want to influence too much the imagination of the audience, as if they should guess themselves what's the title. And of course, when you are the interpret, it's very important to know very precisely what the composer had in mind to be able to recreate it in the best way. But I think it's really also important that the audience has the title and can somehow follow the imagination.
You mentioned that during the pandemics, you recorded an album. How do you live during the COVID isolation? Do you study every day? Do you prepare new programs? Did you have new plans in mind? What did you do?
It was a very strange times, because we didn't have any concert, any travel, so it was very quiet. So I spent actually the many months of the COVID in Vienna. And actually, for me, it was a great possibility, because I dreamed since my childhood to record Bach's last masterpiece, The Art of Fugue. And of course, this kind of very complex works demands a lot of time to be able just to learn the notes. So after a few weeks, I actually got luck to be able to fix a date for the recording, which I recorded in Berlin, the Teltex studio. And this, the fact that I had this deadline made me actually be very active during the whole months, and I practiced and I learned the Bach, the fugues every day. And I was actually I was not depressed, because I was very active, and actually I have good memories from these months. But I'm really thankful that your beautiful concert hall programmed me, because this tour were actually initially planned in 2020, then maybe 2021, and now we are here in 2022. I'm really happy that you can welcome me.
We've got it, finally. And future plans, what are you intend to do, next commitments that you have after your concert at Sala Cecilia Meirelles?
Actually, from September, I will have a busy beginning of the season. I will perform Schumann Piano Concerto at the Berlin Philharmonie. Then I will do a Brahms and Bach recital at the Vienna Concert House. Then it will be I have my own chamber music festival in Germany, where we invite colleagues and friends. And I will also record next season a CD with orchestra with French concertos. So that's the plans.